Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast with your industry veteran hosts, Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now.
All right, welcome everyone to another Peers Over Beers. My name is Chris Tetzel, and guess what? We have another special guest, Fran Murphy. I think you go by Fran, is that right?
Yeah, Fran's good.
Okay, well, Fran is the VP of Community at Upwork. And so I am super excited to have you on because I remember about a year ago, ish, is when you started Upwork, is that right?
Yeah, closing in on a year in June. So yeah, almost there.
Yeah, I mean, it's mid-May, right? It's mid-May now. And, it's almost, 11 something months. So what have you been doing, man? Tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, Fran, and we'll go from there. How about that?
Yeah, no, sounds good. Thanks, Chris. So happy to be on. Great to chat with you again. Yeah, a little bit about me. What do people want to know? What do people care about? So I'm at Upwork right now. Been here for almost a year. We've established, not quite, but almost. I've been, prior to Upwork, let me give a kind of brief background. So prior to Upwork, I spent four years at Anaplan. So SaaS company doing a lot of planning based work. Competitors are like SAP and Oracle, things like that. Really joined there like a 600 person company, which was wild for me because it was coming from United Health Group. So this huge organization where I was leading social consumer care over there. And that's, social media and healthcare is scary for the legal department. They used to get nervous when I came to their door, but it was all good things, I think. So that,
I can imagine.
So that was fun. Yeah, right. And then prior to that, I was at Best Buy leading a lot of knowledge management and some and things like that. And then prior to that,
by the way, I worked at Best Buy for a few years as well. Yeah, I was computer lead, in the store, so I wasn't at the corporate level. But anyways, interesting point there that you're at Best Buy.
Well, yeah, Best Buy. It's a funny one. We my connection to Best Buy comes from the UK. They took a 50% stake in a company I used to work for and called Carphone Warehouse. I don't even think Carphone Warehouse exists anymore, but they took a 50% stake in that company and they tried to open Best Buy stores in the UK. Kind of funny because no one knew what Best Buy was in the UK. They thought it was like the equivalent of like a dollar store, like Best Buy. And they'd walk in and there'd be all this electronics. They'd be like, this isn't what we thought. So that didn't work out.
People walk right out.
Yeah, they did. It was crazy in the UK. They went all out. They had electric cars in the front window and things and everything. So it was crazy stuff. But it was a good experience. I liked Best Buy. It was a fun place. Still have a lot of affinity over there, and it's Minnesota, so you can't not work at Best Buy or Target. I think is the pre-requirements for everybody in the state. So, so then I was at UHG for a bit and did the social stuff, and then an opportunity came over to. We relaunched a community at UHG as well, which was a lot of fun. UHG is. And I was specifically in Optum, which we kind of like to think in Optum is the cool side of the business, although it's healthcare. So how cool does it get? But they acquire like a ton of companies, massive amounts of companies. That some of them just get lost and they gather dust. And we actually acquired a company called Pregnancy.org, which was part of another company we acquired. And it was just gathering dust. It was like one person keeping the lights on at this maternity community, which is like the second biggest at one point behind Baby Center, which is like the juggernaut, like 50 million members or whatever it is.
Wow.
And Baby Center and maternity communities are super active. It's like, as someone who's got two kids, and even I signed up for the alerts for a lot of these places, and they do it really well. It's like they want to hook you in, and they do it so well. It's like your baby's the size of a peanut. Go and have a look at some other ththings, and you click through, and the click-through rate must be astounding. So we relaunched this Pregnancy.org just before I left Optum, and it was kind of wild to get something off an old Drupal platform. We moved it on to it was Get Satisfaction. We moved it on to actually because we were with Sprinkler, and Sprinkler had just purchased GetSat in a bit of a fire sale, I think. Unfortunately for the folks at GetSat, it was a great platform, but it didn't work out. But Sprinkler. I haven't looked at it right now, but I think Sprinkler probably did some good things with it. They're a good company. And then an opportunity came up to go over to a startup called Anaplan. Never heard of it. I had no idea what it was about, but showed up, interviewed, got really sucked in. The chief customer officer at the time, a guy called Simon Tucker, he ended up being my boss before I left as the chief planning officer. Then it's a planning company, so of course they need a chief planning officer. Right, but he was also a British guy, so
that's helpful, probably.
Yeah, it was clearly the reason I got the job.
You speak my language,
right? the way, yeah, exactly. And it's a completely different language. I've learned this after nearly 10 years in the United States. Most of my team and people I know don't understand a word I'm saying, which is good because I get to say random things, and they're like, "Is that for real?"
What'd you say, Fran? I didn't get that. I'm just joking.
My kids are the best. My kids also always correct me, so that's fun.
Do they have an accent?
Yeah, American accent. So they sound very American, which is
but not British. Being around you,
not British. No, I didn't. I've not lost it, which is good because the worst case scenario is me getting like half American, half British, and sounded a bit like Madonna, and it all gets. So no one needs that. But no, Simon really sold the idea at Anaplan. We want to take this community and make it, as big as Salesforce. So this is where we'll go with this. They're obviously SaaS leader, SaaS community leader. We want to really invest in it and really grow it. So I was bought in. I was like, this is amazing. This is great. There was a couple of people on the team at the time. So took that journey with them. We built that team to, I think by the end of it, there was like 12 or 13 of us on the team. I had a great team there. Technology leaders, content. We brought a developer because most people in community may know this, that if you need dev resources, engineering never really wants to give it up for community. So we just went our own way and went, we'll hire our own developer then. So we did, and we brought our own developer on staff, and she was amazing as well. And did some really cool things, launched an amazing virtual conference series, which I suppose the biggest hat tip that I can take from my time there is that our marketing team now called all of their conference series the same thing that we did, which is called Anaplan Live. Cool. So we did that, generated a ton of money for the business through leads and acquisition, those kinds of things. But really exciting time. We started doing that event series, and I'd put people on planes, and we'd go around to like Singapore, to the UK, and actually film these things live stream. Then we realized that that's probably not sustainable. So,
but it's fun.
It was fun, right? It was a lot of fun. The people enjoyed it after they got over the fact that this is a lot of hard work. You're trying to kill me. But then we set up shop in our Minneapolis office, which was a beautiful office, and it's still there today. And did the full live stream from that office. And when I say live stream, we really did do live stream, which is scary to a lot of people, but I kind of love the risk factor of it. It's like, couple of thousand people showing up, and then it's like, is it going to go down? Is it not? But it was great. We had
exactly.
And we had a great partner with them as well. That's the thing. The great partnership for the events platform we used was Bevy. So huge fan of Bevy. Love the work that they do over there. Obviously, they bought CMX, which is everybody knows CMX and the work that they do over there. But it may not be too shocking that we're actually just about to go live with Bevy at Upwork as well.
Cool.
I'm a man of habit at times, so I'm like, if it works, right? So
why change? If you've had really good experience with technologies, why would you want to change?
Yeah, I always say this: it's much of a much for so many platforms out there for community. It's like, show me the real difference, and if you get one that how it works and how the back end works, you can work well with the team, and it's a true partnership. Then I'm like, why not go with that? It makes sense. Despite the fact that every organization I tend to work at that has a Salesforce shop always wants me to go onto the Salesforce community platform. And I'm like, I get it. They've got to, but the thing that people mistake, and I'm probably going to offend people, I don't mean to, but Salesforce has an amazing community, not an amazing community platform. That's the clear distinction, and people get wrapped up in it. But I reference Salesforce all the time, especially with some of the work that we're doing at Upwork. If you think about the way they do their certifications through Trailhead and all of that, it's like, well, that's how we should get to with Upwork, right? We should be able to show people, if you do certifications with us, if we do vetting with you on your skills and assessments and those kinds of things, and we should be able to tell you the same kind of data, like what kind of job can I get from this? How much money can I now charge for my work, etc. So, we want to make that evolution with the way we're doing. So Anaplan, anyway, did the whole rocket ship ride through IPO, and that was fun. And And then I kind of got to a point at Anaplan where we were like, I think we've gone as far as we can go right now. And I was looking for a new. I wasn't actively looking for an opportunity, but one kind of fell in my lap, and it was at Upwork. And funnily enough, we tried to partner with Upwork probably about 2 years prior to that with work we were doing at Anaplan. We launched a certification program through the community. We'd actually given access to people to the Anaplan platform for the first time ever. We were a SaaS company, and the only way you could actually use our platform was if you were a customer or a partner. And it's like, and we were recognizing that we didn't have enough talent in the system to actually support all of our customer growth. So we're like, well, why don't we just give access to people so they can actually learn it? So we launched Talent Builder in the community and get people 90 days access, and they were getting them skilled up as model builders. We didn't want to become a recruiting firm. We didn't want to become like a staffing or a talent firm. We wanted to partner with another company that would say, take all of those people who are becoming skilled, use their platform, and then give our customers access to that platform. So we were trying to work with a couple of brands. One of them was Upwork. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but I remembered the firm, obviously. I remember the company, and a lot of people know Upwork. A lot of people don't know Upwork.
I know all about it. I use them. I use you guys. So
good. That's great. That's good news. It's a 50-50 split. We know we're the market leader, but a market leader that the brand recognition just isn't where we need it to be. But we're making great strides there, and we've got a wonderful new CMO who's joined, who's making some really great progress there. So did the whole Anaplan thing, came across to Upwork, really bought into the mission about creating economic opportunity for folks. And I thought, what better way to serve that mission than take on the role of their leader in their community. And that's where we are today, right? And I can go a little bit further into what the journey's been like so far for community at Upwork, but I'll
I think that's a good. No, I think that's a good idea, and that's the goal, is to have you talking. So I think we're good about that. But that was really good insights on kind of your journey from where you were and where you are today, and it's quite interesting. We'd love to know more about. We don't necessarily talk about all this, but how you you're thinking around certification programs within the community and getting them kind of leveled up and that kind of stuff. Is that kind of connected to like an academy of some sort? I come from a B2B company, so we have academy that they're trying to certify our current customers and partners on both technical type stuff, but also on sales type stuff, specifically around our partners, right? So they need to know how to sell our product, what our product's about, and all that kind of stuff, but also that technical stuff. I mean, at Upwork, do you guys have like a academy type stuff? I mean, it's a little different of a model, I guess, because you have talent that basically is just getting money around their talents, and people are just basically hiring them for their talent to do certain things, right? I'm sure there's some bigger use cases there, but that's the way I use Upwork. Is I just put out a post and I say, I need a writer, a blog writer, I need somebody to edit videos, or I need this. Somebody applies, I look at their profile and I think, yeah, they look good, why don't I try them? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's almost like you read my mind of what we do over there. So we when I joined, it was called, the actual title was Community and Talent Success. And it's funny, talent success is a really weird title because people think, are you in HR or are you? Right? And the community, we all know community is a weird one, because when anyone ever posts for their first community role they're trying to hire for, they don't realize the nuances, and they get a bunch of applications for people who actually work in the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Which do fantastic work, by the way, but just not right for what we need. But
yeah.
So what I did, one of the first things I did was look at what is the makeup of that team. And we had an events function, which made sense. And then talent success was really made up of what we call Upwork skills certifications. So these are like, we certify people based on their designing creative portfolios or their web mobile development skills. So we partnered with a company called Code Signal to help us facilitate that. So we have all of that. And then we also had some coaching, so one-to-one coaching that we would do with freelancers when they join. So really helping them get started on the platform. And it was really successful with just no scale. There was no scale there. It was really low reach. Not many people were reaching, considering the amounts of people who were on Upwork.
Yeah.
So what we did is we collapsed all of that together and put it under the umbrella of just community. And we built three clear pillars in community. We have community platform, which is all about the core community pieces. And community at Upwork, by the way, was just a forum. We use Khoros. Big fan of Khoros. I love what they do there. But we were using like 2% of what Khoros is. I jokingly say Khoros must have thought we were the best cash cow ever because we didn't ask for anything. We were just we didn't have all the. There was basically nothing turned on in the back end. There was a lot of tech debt there. So we repurposed that. So it has forums should always be part of a community, but it shouldn't just be a community. It shouldn't that isn't all of what community can be. So we have forums still. We're redesigning all of that piece of it. We just rebranded the community, which is great. It actually is on brand now, which is funny because we weren't at all. Yeah, it does. We redesigned it. So in that team, we have the forum pieces. We have a content leader that we brought in. We also have an experience leader that we brought in, which manages kind of our idea of groups. So we wanted to introduce these discrete experiences. The Upwork community has millions of people in it, but they're all lumped together. So how do we give people affinity? How do we let people not just be part of a tiny group, but have the ability to be part of a smaller group? So we've started to launch them now. I can't remember how many we've got, maybe close to 20 or so that are both private and completely hidden, like some of our coaching cohorts versus the ones that are you can request to join, and they're based on geography, or we've got some affinity groups like a veterans group, a women's group. We've just done a campaign. We helped with a campaign that our marketing team did around Mother's Day, and specifically about how do we address the problem of the displaced workforce with regards to women. Obviously, during the pandemic, they were most brutally hit with having to leave the workforce. So how do we help bring them back? So we partnered with our marketing team, and we launched a group for mothers coming back, coaching cohorts. We're giving a kind of exclusive access and to certifications if you want to have it and things like that. So really trying to get back there. So the groups function sits under platform as well. And then within experience, there's also gamification. Gamification is also kind of is one of those things that, well, of course, it's gamification, it's community. There's always gamification, but people get it wrong all the time. Or it just doesn't exist, or people think, well, it's badging and it's roles and rankings and that's all part of it. And it is, but it's not the be all and end all of it. And what we realized at the Upwork community with our ranking system is that it had been just out of the box, right? So I hit certain things and you call me a certain thing. So we had a bunch of people who are community gurus, a bunch of people who are community aces or whatever, and it didn't really make much sense. And it wasn't fair to those people either, because we need to give more and explain exactly what this means, and we weren't doing a good job of that. So we've rolled back all the rankings. So if you go into the Upwork community today, everyone's just a community member right now until we reestablish what does it mean, what is the criteria for leveling up, and some of those people will immediately level back up because we'll use that historic data and look at it. We won't completely pull the rug from under people, but so there's that piece. And then we kept our events team as is. We broadened it, but we have a global events team, focuses on user generated events. I think meetups. We did a lot of in-person events around Europe, around the world, in the US as well. We have a network of ambassadors that work on the team in different parts of the world who help kind of facilitate those in-person events.
And these ambassadors are more on your community, right? Because they're so engaged, or is that right? Or
no, they're actually on the team. They're not full time, but we one of the things I should mention as well is what Upwork does is we drink our own champagne, if you will. So we have it's probably about a 75-25 split across the company of full-time employees to what we call our hybrid workforce, our talent innovation program. So we actually use people from the platform, but we don't use them in like a specific need. Like you explained, you might need someone to edit some videos, and then you wouldn't keep them on full time. I have people on my team who've been part of that program for 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And and they've been committed to it, and love the flexibility.
Are they paid to do that? Okay, got it.
Yeah, we pay them to do that. Yeah, so it's all part of that that program. So
Cool.
We have these ambassadors. They do that. We're relaunching and kind of connecting the events team more to the community as well. So when we've got these groups, it's like this gives these one-off regional events, for example, an opportunity to connect all year round through a community group, and then also the ability to spin up their events whenever they need them. This is one of the reasons we want to partner with Bevy, is because it gives us the opportunity to give those leaders within the groups, not just these ambassadors, but we're calling them group guides, access to Bevy to set up the events, so we don't have to be a barrier to them getting together either virtually.
Just giving them access to that,
and absolutely,
being branded for Upwork, and all the people they're bringing in is great leads and opportunity for Upwork as well.
Absolutely. I think it's all the gravity effect for me. If you do the right thing by people, eventually they associate you with that, with that, and it pays dividends. So we also have in the events team community events, which are the stuff that we put on. So product events maybe, or we work with thought leaders in the community and put them on the stage. Spoke with
are most of these virtual, or some of them live?
Today, 100% virtual, although fingers crossed, we should be, in fact, not fingers crossed, I think I got the news yesterday that we are going to be going back to in-person events. So we're trialing some at the end of this quarter. So we've got some regional events that are going to be in person again. We're also working on a larger talent event, like a talent summit, if you would, that's going to be driven by community, and that will be hybrid.
So let's back up a little bit, because I'm highly interested in some of the things you're saying about, what I'm thinking about is, and it's maybe a new buzzword in community, but community-led growth, right? First of all, does community own all the event pieces, or just specific community event type stuff? Does that make sense? Like, or are you guys just engaged in certain things, or you're engaged in all the events that are going on? What's kind of the...
So it's going to be sound like a non-answer. We own all the events that we own. But so marketing, we have a marketing events team. We have a leader over there, primarily focused on our clients, and more specifically quite focused on our enterprise clients. Obviously, we work with some huge organizations who bring us in to solve huge talent needs that they have, and we can help with that across the world. So we have events that are focused in that area. We focus primarily on the millions of freelancers that are out there.
Okay,
and within
the individual contributors of their work, got it.
And I found that really valuable. We did the same thing at Anaplan. Our marketing events team would focus on the C-suite and the decision makers. We'd focus on the real decision makers of any software, which is the people using it. Because if they don't like it, then they're going to tell their boss that they don't like it, and guess what?
That's right.
The next software vendor is going to come along and take your place. So everything I've explained so far from an events perspective, that's what we 100% own that. And then from our community events, those product events, because I sit within product, which is the first time I've ever sat within a product org, which
interesting,
is
isn't it?
Very interesting. People often go like, "So do you sit? Which department of marketing do you sit?" And I'm like, "None." I'm like, "We sit in the. We don't have we don't have a chief customer officer at Upwork, so there's not that role to roll up into." And to be fair, my boss is the chief product and experience officer, so he has all of CX in there as well. So there's all the core product competencies, then CX and community that sit within his remit.
We have that as well. So he's a chief product and chief customer officer, and the guy owns a shit ton of things,
It's a small remit, right?
It's like you own product and you own all the support and customer success and, documentation and, a bunch of other stuff. So it's like, geez, dude, one dude is really busy. I mean, he has a lot of people under him, but,
it's a lot to take on.
This is interesting. And let's back up a little bit. What, when you look at communities kind of goals and, what is it that you're trying to achieve, and what are you, when you look at business outcomes, how does what is it that you're trying to achieve, and what are some of your business outcomes? And the last thing is, how does your goals align with, I guess, one, I assume the company goals kind of are filtered down, and the product goal, the product team's goals are then put into place, and then the community goals kind of filter down from the product. Is that right? Or,
Absolutely. Yeah. We did as everyone does, their kickoff at the start of the year. And Hayden, our CEO, shared with the whole organization kind of our kind of focus on what we're focused on for what we're calling our Act 2, right? For Upwork, 20-year-old company, right? So we're kind of in that redesign mode, if you would. We're kind of really a lot of change going on in across the business, and those goals absolutely map then to our product goals, and then we aspire to kind of roll up our community goals to product, and then by proxy to those company goals as well. So yeah, there's a lot of connection, which I think is important,
of course,
for community. And this, right? I mean, it's sustainability, and it's preservation as well. If you can't prove value, then you just end up being a cost center. And value shows up in many different ways, and the way people care about different things is what I've learned.
That's right.
We as community professionals, we care about the things that other parts of the business and senior leadership don't always care about, because they can't connect the dots as easy. And it's so, how do I connect the dots for you and make it really easy for me to report that out and really easy for you to see that? So we break it into 3 different pillars within community. We have traffic, engagement, and penetration as one bucket. So looking at your boring traffic metrics, which are important. But really, I mean, they tell like a tiny story, but it's good to see traffic go up. It's good to see page views go up if it matters. But the engagement,
organic SEO and all that kind of stuff.
Good. Absolutely, yeah.
That's how people find you, right?
Yeah. Right. And then, the engagement piece is super important. It makes everything else possible. Are people actually from, just upvoting something, or are they going to actually comment? Are they going to contribute some content for us? Are they going to attend an event, present at an event, go through an academy class, etc.? By the way, I know we skipped over it. I'll just quickly loop back. The other team that I have is called Academy. We relaunched it. It's called Academy, and it has the certifications, cohort-based coaching, interactive learnings, and then all our social and social impact partnership initiatives that we're working on as well.
That's interesting.
In that group. Yeah, cool. They are really interesting. Yeah, what we're doing there is it's kind of the stuff that gets you kind of really excited about the impact that you can make on the world. So
yeah,
it sounds grandiose. We try. So we have this traffic engagement and penetration, and engagement is super important. So obviously the gamuts are passive all the way through to active engagement. And then the penetration piece is about, because we're a business, we want to make sure that other people using our tool, using community, and if you use community, is that increase your value to us?
Yeah.
We need to connect those dots. So we're looking at how many people who are active in Upwork are also active in the community. So looking at that, we're an open community, double-edged sword. I love open communities. I love being like, let's democratize the world and let everyone see everything.
Yeah.
The obvious disadvantage of that is I don't need to log in unless I need to interact.
Yeah,
and you can still be getting value with just by viewing stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're introducing a tool that will help us track non-logged in activity. So we'll be able to get some of that back soon, which will be great.
What kind of tool do you use? Highly interested.
So it's a homegrown tool, I think.
Okay.
We were using Heap. So Heap is a great tool for that as well.
It's just I thought Heap was more like a Google Analytics. So instead of using Google Analytics, you use Heap. Is that not true?
It does a little bit more. So it'll help you. It's a bit more in depth, and it will give you can track things like time on page, which is really interesting. Where did that kind and really connect that journey a little bit more. So it's really good for helping. It can almost act like a semi LRS system. So learning record store. So if you think about tracking learning activity, so I started a course, where did I drop off, and those kinds of things. What's resonating, what's not. And we have like a really smart developer who's also part of our talent innovation program called Jolie. He's based out of Eastern Europe, and he it's always great when you discover talent on the team. He was a community moderator, and now he's basically dev for us. He's doing all this dev work for us. He knows, super talented guy, and he's hacked together this way for us to be able to track people successfully completing their interactive learnings on the academy without us having the need to have an actual learning management system or a record store right now. And we're just going to continue to develop that muscle so that we avoid the need to add another tool on top of our tech stack. So really cool to get that piece. So obviously we track all of those things. Penetration is important, and then the other two pieces. I'll leave the one that excites me most about the business impact to last. But we look at our business impact. Kind of makes no sense there when I said that, but business impact. And they kind of we look at intelligence and voice. So we look at and we roll that into our overall customer 360 team. So obviously, the unsolicited voice of the customer you get from communities is amazing, right? So we like to pump all of that stuff in, and the solicited voice of the customer as well. We have our NPS that we track, some CSAT stuff and things like that across the teams. We also look at what we call first of all, we also look at deflection because, of course, community, even if you're not a sport community, if you're not tracking deflection, I think it's a miss just to show a bit of value there. And I think. And it's really most community platforms make it super easy to do. Khoros, big fan of what Khoros does because they have they have their way of measuring deflection, but they didn't develop it, which is always a great sell to leadership. Which is like, this isn't just a random vendor. This is Forrester and the TSIA who created this way of measuring deflection. So we measure deflection.
So do they? When you say you measure deflection, is it already built into Khoros, or they just tell you how to do it and you just kind of come up with some formula and then go the analytics here and then whatever? How does that work?
So the formula is already built in through their survey. So they have a value analytics survey, and they ask the question, why did you come to a community? And then if you click I came for support, they ask did you find support? Yes or no? And they ask you, even if you said yes, if you didn't find support, where would you go next? And if people select support, then it factors that out, and then we can extrapolate the number of surveys based on the number of visits and overall visits, and then it gives us that number based on our average cost per contact.
Yeah.
So
interesting. No, I like that. And that's so after they ask the question or get it answered or something, some survey pops up. How does that?
Yeah. So basically, what will happen is we have a survey pop up. And it's kind of, there's got to be some kind of smartness on the back end as to where it pops up, and it doesn't bombard you. So if you do it once, it won't do it again for another 90 days, I think.
You could probably put some setting in there to say do it every whatever.
Yeah, and we get a decent response, right? And it also gives people the opportunity to provide some verbatim feedback to us as well. So and then it's kind of, how do we disseminate what's community feedback, this is what is product feedback, and get that back to the business.
That's pretty cool. I like I didn't know that about Khoros. That's a really cool feature. Love it.
Yeah, no, it's good to have people on the team that know Khoros inside and out.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Helps. Yeah. So we do that, and then we also have what we call our community value metric. And what this is we are looking at that influence that community is having on the success of the business. So if I look at a freelancer, for example, and this isn't fully baked yet because we need to connect all. We did this at Anaplan and we were able to connect the data, but we're in the process of connecting all this data together where we can look at, if I'm a freelancer and I log in to community, what is my increase in or not of my earnings, my job satisfaction score, my rehire rate, those kinds of things, based on somebody who doesn't. That's kind of step one. I log in or I don't log in. Then we layer in the other pieces of value from community, and it's like compounded. So you can it's like Lego blocks. You can add some in or take some away. So am I kudoing something or upvoting? We've just changed it to upvote. So because people know upvote more, so we changed the word. I like kudos though. It's kind of a cool word.
I don't hate it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So are they kudoing? Are they commenting? Are they starting a thread? Are they contributing content? All the way up to people, are you presenting an event for us? And then compounding all those pieces together to really start to see what is the right mix of activity to show the right value to the business. What gives the business the most value? But importantly, what makes our freelancers most successful if they add all of these elements together? Does engagement in community even matter? Yeah. And if it does, and we know it does, because anecdotally we can tell that those who are active tend to be more successful. And you've seen it through every business. You probably see it yourself, right? That people who are active in the community are the propensity to spend more with you and expand the offerings that you
proving some of that stuff is highly difficult, but I love where your head is. And I love that you're talking about this. I mean, it just shows that you've been doing this for a while and you've been having these conversations for a long time, And so
Yeah,
that's
it's a slog. It's a tough slog as well to get it
yeah,
in front of the right people so that they buy into it and they believe it. The final one I'll talk about before we did talk about my
yeah,
favorite way we measure is we're starting to look at influenced revenue.
yeah,
How do we influence revenue? We did it really successfully at Anaplan. Slightly different business model, right? Because it's a
yeah,
product that we're selling to customers, so we're
yeah.
B2B. So we looked at it primarily from the events perspective, and we measure the success of our events the same way that marketing measures their success. So how many MQLs will we generate from that
Yep.
event? And then tracking it, tracking the sales cycle and looking at who signed, who didn't, who expanded their contract offering, who didn't, based on them attending this event. And it's not just a random event. All our events are around educating people about the product, about showing what's coming next. And we were able to, they were tens of millions of dollars over the course of events over close to 18 months or so. And every event was getting better and better at this. And our sales team were inviting people, prospects, to these events, not events that you would generally invite prospects to because they're not marketing events. They're about showing you how you treat your customers today, how you educate and give back to your customers today versus promising me the earth, because everyone knows. Sales teams are amazing, but sometimes they'll overpromise because they know it's coming 6 months. In 6 months' time, it's just not quite there yet. So they say we can do that. But this is showing what reality is and how we actually treat our customers. So that's why I love those events and how we can add value to the business through them. So we're working on that and connecting that data. Bevy will help a lot.
I love that. And we should come back to this point right here because I'm doing some of the stuff here that you're talking about right now with the pushing the events out, and then it goes into Salesforce and the Marketo and all that stuff. And then they but I don't think I've mastered kind of some of the things that you're talking about yet. But anyways, keep going and I'll try to remember to come back to that because I have some questions.
Yeah, no worries. So we do all that, and we're trying to get there. We've been using Zoom for our virtual events since I arrived because easy button to pull, and we do that. But we'll be transitioning all of that to Bevy, which will give us an immense amount of data. That's one of the great things about Bevy is the data you get from them. And if people aren't familiar with Bevy do all that kind of the data piece for Meetup as well. It's like they have a partnership with Meetup, and they do a lot of that work for them as well for some of their premium offerings. So they're legit when from a platform perspective. I sound like I'm on commission from Bevy. I'm not, but they are great platform. I love what Derek's built over there. Fantastic stuff. And I'm sure
this is good to hear. This podcast is to address some of those things and talk about some of the technologies that you've had benefits from, or you've had success from, and this is exactly what I want to hear, and I'm sure that others do too. So you're fine.
Perfect. Good. And then so the final piece that we do to measure is not the most interesting way of not interesting title for it, but we call it kind of direct or custom impact. And what I mean by that is that we look at what is the rest of the business trying to achieve. What are their goals, and how can we leverage the suite of offerings that we're building out with community to help meet those goals? So how can we say, you're trying to do X, we're going to give you Y to help you achieve it faster, or to help you achieve it at all? A few examples, that I can give around that to help add color. One of them is the war in Ukraine. Obviously, super sad, super busy for everybody. I had team members in Ukraine. Luckily and thankfully, that everyone is 100% safe, if separated from family as well, and displaced in different countries. But they're all doing well. We have a lot of other team members and a lot of freelancers and a lot of clients, etc., based in there. So, we obviously trying to do what we can there. And part of that was how do we react? How do we give all this information to people? So we knew that we could move very quickly in community, and we did it for the pandemic at Anaplan. We had kind of a helps site there, so we thought, let's spin up Upwork Helps in community. So we spun up a site. It helped us consolidate all of the information that people would need to know. It also helped facilitate a dedicated space for those conversations to happen, because it's important that we acknowledge that there's a war going on, but there's also not a war going on in the rest of the world, and they're having conversations that exist, and it helps people respect each other's boundaries a little bit. It's like people don't want to feel like that they're being insensitive by having a conversation about something else that's nothing to do with it when it's top of mind for so many people. So we created a space where all of these, any forum threads that would happen within the confines of Upwork Help. Wasn't hidden in any way. You could come and find it. You could join the group if you wanted to, and you could read it. What that really did was really help us channel all of our efforts from a freelance perspective in that one place, and help us get those communications out in a really great way. And it was really well received, and we were able to see obviously a huge uptick in traffic. But what was really interesting was everybody was like panicked about, look at all these heated conversations that are happening, because we had Belarusian, Russian, Ukrainian, interested Americans and other countries, and just like, because everyone likes their opinion about things, which is great. And it was, but some of them were getting quite heated, right? It's like, why are you allowed to be on this platform now after what so-and-so's doing to so-and-so? And so we wanted to make sure that we facilitated those conversations, and we did, and we let them go and go and go and go. And then we closed those threads. And people were getting panicked, like, should we be letting these conversations happen? And I'm like, absolutely, because guess what? They're going to happen anyway. Yeah. So let them happen in a space that we can see, and then we can also see, is there ways that we can support and change our processes and policies around this? So it was really good to see. And then they fizzle out, because it's the news cycle, right? It's sad. It's super sad what's continuing to go on over there. But in the UK, they say it's like, today's news is tomorrow's chip paper, right? Because they used to wrap fish and chips in. I don't think they're probably legally allowed to do that anymore. That would be awful for the fish and chips. And as a vegan, I wouldn't eat it anyway. So we have so we did that, which was great. Another quick example is the Mother's Day campaign, which I talked about. You know, we were able to, our brand team said, we want to do this campaign. Really fantastic adverts that we put together, highlighting what makes you a great mom, makes you a great hire, right? So then, and very schmaltzy at times, but so powerful and so needed, because it's like, as two guys, it's like we weren't necessarily as impacted. I have kids, but equally, my wife was a preschool director, so she kind of worked through the whole pandemic anyway, which kudos to all the frontline workers for doing that. But I was privileged enough to work at home. So as I was managing kind of a kindergartner through that first year of the pandemic, I was teacher and working at the same time. And it was super flexible and super easy. I didn't have to take a break. But so many women did. And so we did this. And then they came to us and said, what can we do with you? And historically, like I said, we only had a forum. That was it. And over the space of kind of the last 6 months, especially, we've accelerated and grown our offering. So we're like, okay, why don't we have a dedicated group for mothers that we can put out there? Why don't we get a dedicated coaching cohort as well? So if people want to come and try freelance and it's a way to get back into work, it's like we can help them get accelerated on the platform. Why don't we give them prioritized access to those certifications I talked about? So we built that suite of packages together, and we said, we'll offer that. And it was front and center on the page that we built on the website for Mother's Day, the Mother's Day campaign. So we were able to bring those people into the community. And we expected to spin up a cohort within a couple of weeks after launching the group. It was within days, people were chomping at the bit for this. So we accelerated our and people were accelerating so we accelerated our plans to spin up a coaching cohort that's live now for moms. Really highly engaged group. And just on the groups in general, I mean,
it's brand new, really. I mean, Mother's Day was just not that long ago.
Exactly right. And we found this with groups, is that when you put people together, the same way, like, Facebook caught onto it years ago, right? When they realized that groups is the way to go, and people want these discrete experiences, they don't want to get overwhelmed. So we found this. I mean, and you kind of know it's kind of going to work. It sounds a bit of an ego there, but we kind of knew it was going to work. But we're seeing it, like, for example, and the geo-based groups are really exciting. And they're not just like we pull you into a group based on your location. We invite you, but you have to proactively go and say, I want to join this group, and then we let you in. You
have to see the group, and then you hit join, and then you're in.
Right, absolutely. And the Pakistan group launched within 24 hours. There was over 4,000 people in the group, and over 200 threads were created. Now, the number of responses as well is probably closer to like 600-700 responses in 24 hours. super passionate, and it was valuable conversations. They were like, this is amazing. Now I can connect with people who are near me and kind of have the same experience as me. We also say, talk in your own language. If you want to type it, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, so we have one for Ukraine, and it's like, we've said, you can talk in Ukrainian or English in here, whatever you want, whatever's comfortable for you. It's like, and I think that's what's been really nice to see, is that when you put people together like that, they don't feel like they're segregated or siloed away from everything. It just gives them another spot to kind of have a sounding board to people who are going through similar things as them, from the same location as them, or a part of the same industry and have the same skills as them. So whether it's a writing group or a development group or a Pakistan group or an Indian group, whatever it might be. So we really like that. So the direct impact value is and custom impact value is what is really exciting for me about how we're showing value to the business. And the team has just built out, our content leader, Courtney, has just built out our menu for community, where we're kind of saying, do you want to pick a la carte, and you know what you want? So you want like a group, you want a blog, you want all these things, and for us to partner with you this way, or do you need us to call? You need to get on a call with us so we can help explain it. But what we're also doing to help the business understand the value is taking all those examples, attaching the data to them to show that they work, and then putting those at the top of the menu to say, these are the campaigns we partnered on in the past, and this is the results you can expect to see if this is what you're trying to achieve. Perfect. Then people can say, oh, cool, I want that, so I'm going to ask for that. Or I have something very unique. And the one thing I always say to my teams is, if somebody comes to us and says, I need a community page, I need all of these things, and it's like, and they don't, it's like to say, you don't need this. You just send an email out, or don't do anything at all, because you don't need to do anything. But people think it's like the shiny object. So it's like tapering down the shiny object syndrome as well, and saying, just because we built all this stuff, you don't have to use it. I'm not offended if you don't, or if you don't need to.
Yeah,
so we'll help you with that. So
I think that's so many things went through my mind on that whole conversation. So let me see if I can put that all. So one is, I really like how you just open up some groups, and then discussions with the moms group, Ukrainian group. You said you had a Pakistani group or whatever. You can talk in your own language, so you're really empowering your users to, just have conversations around whatever topics. It sounds like, and with the moms group, it was probably more about, hey, you didn't have a job because all this stuff happened. How does Upwork help you kind of, maybe test some of your skills now, and maybe, so I think that was really awesome. What it started to make me think is, God, it sure would be cool if, and maybe this is kind of what you're doing, but it's like a Facebook sort of thing, to where you can create your own group and then manage your own group, and then people, if it's, so for us, if it's about a data kind of thing, right? Like data quality, they open up a customer, or somebody opens up a group and starts having conversations to see if you can drive that. Our platform, I would have to create that group for them to help drive that, and can teach them, how to use it. But Facebook, you just do all shit yourself. You know what I mean? So anyways, that was just I was like, that's genius. So why don't we do that?
It's a really good point, and that's exactly where we want to drive to as well. So you start all these initiatives, just like when they said the age-old thing for a community, right? Seed it with some conversations first. Don't just open a barren wasteland, because no one wants to be the first person to talk, right?
That's right.
So it's like, so you got to seed it with some stuff. So we're seeding it with groups to begin with. We're getting the obvious ones. So where we've got activity from freelancers and clients, things like that, we'll spin those groups up. But the eventual plan, and should come hopefully at some point this year, is to give it the opportunity for people to request those groups and be able to build their own. And we have the group guide program that we're continuing to develop, which is, we want you to sign up to be the guide for this group, and they can be internal badged Upwork employees, or really active advocates that we have can lead those spaces. And the ability to spin up your own group, I think, is really going to be really important. It's going to be important for us to monitor and manage those things to begin with, to make sure that they don't spiral. But someone's asked me at one point, what's the maximum groups that you think you should have? And I'm like, I don't think there is. I think
some of them will just take off for the moment, and then they would just kind of go down, and then how do you curate some of that content and maybe use it later? That's going to be, I could see how this could be out of control. I mean, when you think of Reddit, all those groups being spinned up and everything else, and Reddit's a wonderful thing, but I mean, millions upon millions of different forums, groups, and it's like Facebook in a way, but not. but no telling how many Facebook groups are out there. I have my own group like on Facebook that I started a running group, and then if I didn't do anything for like 3 years, and then I started pushing it and creating content, and then all of a sudden, it went from 20 people in there to now I have almost 4,000 people in it, right? And things like that. So it's just interesting. So I didn't mean to get off topic, but you're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think that the group thing. I'll just say one more thing on that, is that's why we've got this group guide program, is to say, yes, you can start it up, but there's an agreement between us to say that you're going to take responsibility for this group, and you're the guide for it. So you let people in and out, and if we, if it just becomes that nothing's happening, that we'll just close that group down because it's just not necessary. You give people the opportunity to respin it up. And we found this at Anaplan as well with the user group program that we had there. It's like, if things aren't happening, then we'll just close them down because it doesn't make any sense to keep them open anymore. So, because no one's getting value from it at that point. But
so quickly, how do you communicate that? Like, how would you communicate that somebody can start their own group? It's like, here's how you do it. Or do these things to start your own group, that kind of, how do you think about that?
So we have obviously content that's being developed around it. We need to redesign the page. So our groups page is very out of the box to begin with. It's kind of, you can filter by what kind of group, the number of members, those kinds of things, are they closed, open, whatever, and you can see that piece and you can search for them. But we want to create more of a landing page for groups that explains a couple of things. What are they? Because people go, why are you trying to put us over here? Why are you just trying to take us away and put us all together over here out of the way? And it's like, it isn't that. You're still part of the macro community. But
you can be in.
And you could be in multiple groups. You might be a developer who's also from Pakistan, who's also a mother. And it's like, you could be in all three of those groups, and that's okay. And it's like, this is what we want to explain. You can be in multiple groups. You can do these things. It's like, explaining what the group guide role is, having some testimonial videos. I'm a big fan of people just getting their iPhone and filming themselves and putting it up, and then also having a more polished video that explains exactly how you would set up a group. And then the initial way to probably go about it is less about you can just do it, more of a I want to do it. And I'm going to request that you kind of give me a space to be able to do these things, because with the greatest will in the world, we're dealing with a platform like Khoros, which is gonna giving access to people to be able to set things up becomes with different kind of user requirements and kind of responsibilities that we give them. And maybe there's a way to get there. I don't know, but it's not. I can go into Facebook. To your point, you can spin up a group tomorrow or in the next 5 minutes, and you've got one about anything. Whereas, we may not be able to do that here. It may just be there may be a small barrier to it.
Yeah, well, it's not something that you can easily do. It'd have to be somebody would have to spin up the group at the company at Upwork, one of your members, right, or your people that's not one of your admins. They'd have to spin up a group probably, and then let that person have certain accesses and let them go. But my assumption is that I think people would probably get it. It's intriguing because it's another opportunity to engage and let people kind of run their own communities, if you will. I like that idea a lot, especially like, and that way, if you request something and maybe you qualify, you have these kind of, hey, this is what you have to do. You have to seed it with content. So you have to ask, maybe you bring a few people in and to help you do that kind of stuff. We can help guide you in some ways or whatever, but here's the parameters. For us, it would be, let's talk about all things data, even if it doesn't have to do with what Reltio does specifically, but I don't want you talking about, where you're running in the summer. You can to some degree, but I'm not saying don't be personal, but let's keep it sort of topical, on I don't know, but that's intriguing. I didn't mean to get off on that, but it's really
they're really powerful though, Chris. It's like the first group we launched was for our expert vetted talent. So EVT, our expert vetted talent. It's a big deal on Upwork. If you're expert vetted, you kind of go through obviously vetting, certification process. You're kind of the top 1%, if you would. And we spun up a group for them, and they'd never had a place for them to connect all together. It was amazing to see. There was so much activity, and within like a couple of hours, it's like, when are we going to meet up? And so they've had like a virtual meetup within a couple of weeks. They had a virtual meetup, and they wanted to do it because we never connected them all together. And it's like, and it's just, and again, they all existed before, but we've just said, hey, we're going to give you a spot. And it's like just giving them a nudge in the direction. We're not forcing you to do it. It's like, but if you want to, here's a space for you to kind of have those conversations.
Well, Fran, I think we went a little bit over today, or about to, and I have so many more questions. So maybe you can come on again in the next few weeks, months, whatever. Fran, this has been amazing, really. I couldn't get half of my questions out that I wanted to ask, and it's exciting to talk to somebody like you, because there's not many people thinking of community the way you are, and Upwork, and what you're doing just seems really, really fun and cool, and I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks. I appreciate it, Chris. I appreciate you inviting me. What you're doing over here, I think, is really important for the industry of community, and making sure that you not necessarily mine, but just all those voices of community and bringing them together so people can learn from each other, because that's how we grow. And so anytime.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for listening in for another Peers Over Beers. I'm Chris Detzel, and
I'm Fran Murphy.
Thanks, Fran.